Most people think the answer to falling behind is to work more hours, wake up earlier, stay later, grind through lunch, power through the afternoon, even when your brain stopped actually working 2 hours ago. And I did that for years. And I can tell you exactly what it buys you. It buys you a foggy brain, a short fuse, and a family that's slowly figuring out how to do life without you. More hours is not the answer. The structure of how those hours are worked is. And today I'm going to show you exactly how I structure my workday so that I'm doing my best thinking, protecting my mental space, and actually finishing the day still mentally available for my family. Before I get into this, if this kind of stuff is helpful to you, and it will be, I wrote an entire book about it. It's called Take Breaks, Work Better. You can pre-order it right now at takebreaksworkbetter.com. There's also some fun bonuses to check out if you want to look at that. The link will be below, so go grab it. Okay, so here's the core principle everything I'm about to say is built on. Your brain is not designed to sustain deep focus for 8 or 9 or 10 hours straight. Nobody's is. The research on this is not subtle. Elite performers across almost every field, athletes, surgeons, chess grandmasters, musicians, successful business owners that have work-life harmony, they all work in concentrated focus times, and then they recover, rinse and repeat. I took that research and built what I call the 3.3 rule. Work up to 3 hours in deep focus, then take a recovery break that's roughly 30% of that time. Get it? 3.3? So if you work 3 hours, you take about a 60-minute break before the next block. Now I know what you're thinking, John, I can't take an hour break. I have a business to run. Stay with me because that thought is, well, it's wrong. A break is not the same thing as wasting time. In NASCAR, a pit crew doesn't apologize for pulling the car off the track. The car wins because of the pit stop, not in spite of the pit stop. And your brain's going to work the same way. You get more done in 3 focused hours than in 7 blurry, half-focused ones. I've lived this. My team has lived this. Insight tax grew 492% after we implemented this kind of structure. And we've averaged 42 hours a week during tax season. Not 80, 42. The pit stops are the strategy. So what does a structured day actually look like? Let me walk you through how I think about it. The first thing you have to understand is not all work is the same. There's deep focus work and there's light lift work. And most people treat them like they are the same. They wonder why they feel exhausted by noon and haven't actually produced anything meaningful. Deep focused work is the stuff that requires your full cognitive bandwidth. Writing, strategy, financial analysis, a hard client conversation, any decision that has real stakes attached to it. Problem solving that requires you to hold multiple variables in your head at once, those are all going to be deep type of work. Light lift work, or shallow work as Cal Newport calls it, that's the stuff that needs to get done but pulls on a different part of your brain. Answering routine emails, reviewing reports, giving quick approval, scheduling, returning calls that are, maybe they're just more update calls than decisions. So here's what most people miss on this. Both of those cost you something. The light stuff is less demanding, sure, but it still requires focus and mental energy. Neither one is free, and both of them require real recovery afterward, and that's my whole point. Most people mix them all day long. They'll start writing a strategy document, then jump to an email, then take a call, then try to come back to the strategy doc, and then wonder why they feel like they've been in a blender because they thought they were getting a break with the lighter work. Every context switch costs you, and by the time you've context switched 11 times before lunch, your brain is done. So this is how I structure my day. The 3.3 rule is not a rigid schedule. No 2 days are ever the same, and that's on purpose. What I'm doing in any given block is going to depend on a lot of things. What's the highest leverage task in front of me right now? How did I sleep last night? Did I have a hard conversation with someone I love in the morning? Is there something stressful running in the back of my brain that's eating up bandwidth, even before I sit down? All of that is real data, and it all affects what kind of work I can actually do in any given block. Some mornings I wake up sharp and ready to go, deep on strategy or writing, and other mornings life happens before I even get to the freaking desk. And the smarter call would be to start with something that eases me. So the 3.3 rule is going to adapt to all this. What stays constant is the structure itself. Work in a focus block of up to 3 hours, then take a real recovery break, which is roughly 30% of that time. And then you go it again. That's it. What fills those blocks? Shifts based on where I actually am that day, not where I was supposed to be according to some idealized perfect schedule I wrote on Sunday morning or the weekend or like Saturday before. Look, the break is non-negotiable regardless of what you just did. You finished 3 hours of deep strategic work, take the break. You finished an hour of lighter operational tasks, take the break. Your brain spent those hours working in one direction. It needs to decompress before it can go hard in the next focus block. Skipping the break because it wasn't that hard of work or because you can't possibly lose the time on a break, that's going to be how you run yourself into the wall. And usually that hits by 3 p.m., right? And then you start wondering why everything feels harder than it should. And then the close. At the end of the day, there's an intentional wind down that I do. Tomorrow's priorities are identified. The open loops are acknowledged. They're parked somewhere they can't follow me home, right? So that I leave that. I leave knowing what I'm walking into next, like for the next workday, which means my brain actually gets to stop working when I close the laptop or shut off my desktop, get in my car to drive home. That's the structure. It's not a ridiculous morning routine that influencers tell you is the only way to be successful. It's flexible blocks matched to how you feel that day. Real recovery after every block. The 3.3 rule accepts you aren't the same person every morning, and it demands that you stop pretending rest is optional. My firm, Insight Tax, has over 290 team members. Tax season for an accounting firm is the kind of thing that would justify losing your mind if you let it. And we used to let it. I was working absurd hours, my team was burning out, and we were making the kind of decisions that were bad. Then we changed the structure. We stopped treating every hour as identical, every day as identical. We started protecting our focus blocks. We built in recovery. And I wrote a whole book about this exact framework that made it work. The book is called Take Breaks, Work Better. It covers everything I've talked about today and then some. The science, the structure, the exact way to implement this inside a real business with a real team of humans. Not just your own individual calendar, while it does help you do that. So you can pre-order it right now at takebreaksworkbetter.com. The link is below in the video. And look, if you got something useful from this today, share it with someone who needs it, because I guarantee you know at least one person right now they're grinding themselves and they need to hear this. They need to hear that there's a better way to work. So please share it. Take breaks, work better, freedom better.